It's Talking Reds. Hiya, welcome to Matchday. Welcome to the Anfield Wrap. I've got Josh Sexton with me. I've got Ali Gunn. I'm John Gibbons. If I didn't say that, don't think I did. And we are in association with NordVPN. Much more to come from them a little bit later, but thanks a lot to them for partnering with us for this run of Talking Reds. And thanks a lot to the Reds, Josh, for making this period of the season just so exciting because, you know, we had the international break, they come back. Southampton was always going to feel like a bit of a soft, you know, reopening back into it. You're playing bottom of the league. Game after the international break is always a bit of a funny one, but tonight, now we started territory, isn't it? And it's part of a big run of games, and we're starting with a bang tonight.
I always feel a little bit sorry for the players in weeks like these, especially like as you mentioned, like coming off the back of the international break. Like the Southampton game just had all the ingredients to be like one of those real international break hangover games where, like, you know, it's away to a team who are much lower down in the table than Liverpool. It's after the international break. There's a few sort of refereeing decisions, things like that go against you on the day, and then like to come out of that with the win and then go into these next two games, which like it's funny because I think like tonight's game shouldn't feel as big as it does really. Like it's only ultimately a group stage game. Liverpool are as good as home and hosed as they could be at this stage really. Like they've done everything they can to put themselves in the box seat. It feels like all the pressure really is on Real Madrid to start getting results at some point because they're in that sort of playoff window now and maybe looking at two extra games. So to come out of that Southampton game, go steaming into this one, which feels like it just has so much riding on it because of the history between the two teams and all the sort of, I guess, the Trent Alexander-Arnold narrative probably feeds into a little bit as well. And then City on Sunday, sort of aided by what they did in the Champions League last night and what happened at the weekend. It just, it feels like a huge week now, and we're well into the thick of it.
Yeah, we're absolutely in the thick of it, Ali, and there's nowhere else I want to be in the thick of it with you and your moustache. So but that could be a cop chant tonight. It feels great. You know, the Real Madrid are here, they're in town. Then I'll be slept last night. Might have been a few fireworks, but the fireworks will be on the pitch this evening. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, do you know what? It's really exciting now because we just feel as though we're building up a head of steam again. The international break often comes at the wrong time for us as a club, and then we often, as Josh said, we get a bit clunky after the international break and we take a couple of games to get going. But now it really feels as though momentum's starting to build, and with the teams around us, I mean, Madrid have had an interesting start to the season. They've started to get up a bit of a head of steam. But with a few injuries around the squad, this seems like a really good opportunity to play them. It was interesting yesterday on social media, Virgil came out and said he's never beaten Real Madrid, and we've played them a lot over the last few years. So it does feel as though, as Josh said, whilst there's not an enormous amount riding on it for us due to our really positive position in the league, it feels like it could be a good opportunity to get a good scalp and really set ourselves up for the weekend.
Yeah, set ourselves up for the weekend, but also set ourselves up in the group because, you know, the longer it goes on, the better it looks for Liverpool. Yeah. We're not top at the moment, but that's only because the teams playing last night have played a game more. Inter Milan got a win and they're doing really well on 13. But, you know, a win tonight would feel great. It'd get the monkey off the back for a few of these players who've not beaten sort of Real Madrid. But also, you know, the position it'll put us in the group is a phenomenal one. And you know, that's fantastic to see too, because there's obvious benefits from doing well and finishing top 8. But also it's the idea of Liverpool. I want Liverpool to be the ones to watch. I want Liverpool to be the ones that no one wants to get when the knockout sort of dues come. And I like us on top of every table.
I'm happy being top of all the tables.
Bring us a table, we'll be top of it.
Honestly, like, yeah, you have to find some tables from Mars for Liverpool to try and not be top of. Like, it's just funny how much the narrative has shifted over the course of the season, because like the thing that everyone's been saying in the league is that Liverpool are yet to play anyone. Liverpool had what was, you know, being sort of pitched as a group of death in this Champions League run, and yet it feels like every other Champions League big hitter, if you want to call them that struggled with their you know, minnows in their group so far, and Liverpool have been sort of, you know, taking care of everybody in the group, taking care of everybody in the league, as we've been saying as well. So it does just feel like Liverpool are really putting themselves not only in the box seat in the Premier League, and obviously, you know, massive things to come on that on Sunday, but if they can get another win tonight, then you just feel like they're in the best possible nick, and they can almost look at, you know, what is left of this group stage phase when there, you know, there are sort of more games, and there could even be potentially more on top of that if you did play in the play-in and in the playoff, and then you're almost looking at it and being like, you know, Liverpool have done as well as they possibly can do with what was a tough group, and they have played tough teams so far, and they've come through every challenge that's been thrown at them.
I did 5 Live last night, Ali, because I'm kind of a big deal. I don't know if you've heard. Kelly Cates phones me for a chat every now and again. Sometimes it's on radio, sometimes it's not. Last night was. And she said, she was talking about the Mo Salah stuff, and she said, one of the questions was, well, how do you think Arne Slot sort of cope with the Mo Salah stuff? And I said, he's coped with that like he's coped with everything else. So far, there's Liverpool manager, which is brilliantly, which is being the coolest man in the room, laughing certain things off, but he's just taking everything in his stride. And it's Real Madrid tonight at Anfield, everything around that, and you just feel like, well, he was doing the big shop last night apparently, do you know what I mean? He's just like, yeah, it's a big game, but also, you know, family coming over and like, do you want bread? So need to get that box too, and like, you know, that's important. It's all important, Arnie. And you just feel like every part of him since he's come in has just been like, yeah, this is where I'm meant to be. And he'll approach that tonight, I think, as well. The manager will be like, Champions League, Real Madrid, Anfield, under the lights, this is where I'm meant to be.
Yeah, and I think the manager's really clever about, he doesn't ever deter excitement from players or fans, but I think he calms his confidence into, he doesn't underestimate any opposition, he doesn't underestimate the product of the players that other managers have, whether that's Real Madrid or Bologna. But I think what the manager's very good at doing is he's good at deflecting questions that could be made a story, and I think that's been really, really impressive from him, because with the previous manager, often they like to get a click and a soundbite, which, yeah, it was entertaining at times, but actually the manager has taken it in its stride. I also think with the Mo Salah question, I think he's well aware that that's a story that's not going to go away, either positively or negatively, and I think he's just warming up the press to, will carry on answering it exactly the same. And I think that's really, really good from him, because he's going to have been told about the British media, he's going to have been told about the media, especially in the Premier League. And I think he's fully well aware that the challenges that lay ahead, but the team don't need to be brought into that. He can deflect it, he can focus on the job, he can focus on us getting results. And do you know what? Long may it continue.
Long may continue, indeed. And it was interesting, the press conferences yesterday, Josh. I watched all of them, you know, bits of sort of all of them, because, you know, it's that sort of game, really. And, you know, it was interesting. I think Robbo always speaks really well. He speaks really honestly. And it was, you know, he was laughing a little bit for that question of the earlier and stuff like that. He got asked about Mel, he got asked about Trent. I thought he spoke really well on both of them, and also, you know, the tie itself, and then Slot afterwards. And you just feel like, although there's a lot of noise around other stuff, they just seem really focused on the job in hand. And actually, if anything, it's sort of making them more focused, because if it's, you sense for some of them, you're thinking, well, if it is the last year of Mo Salah and maybe the others, then let's make the most of it. And there just does seem to be, although there's a lot of talk of things being distracting for the players themselves, I'm not seeing much evidence of it at the moment.
Yeah, Ali's hit the nail on the head for me there, really, in terms of, you know, the team has become a reflection of the manager's composure over this sort of start to the season. I think that's one of the biggest things we probably worried about when Jurgen Klopp left, is that the team was previously built in our old manager's image, and the old manager's image was so, you know, full of emotion. It came with the sort of sound bites, as Ali mentions, in press conferences, and that was great for somebody like me who has to cover all the press conferences for the Anfield Wrap, and maybe it's sort of not been as entertaining at times covering Slot. But actually there's sort of more like method in the madness there. Like you can dig into more of the nuances behind what he's saying, you can dig into more of the sort of tactical things that he's coming out with in his press conference, because it doesn't get lost in the noise of everything else. And, you know, that the team was so emotional under Jurgen Klopp. It was what it was built off. It was what we as fans, you know, lived for, because you'd go into games like tonight and you'd feel like you were tub thumping from basically from the moment the previous game finished. Whereas I'm going into this just feeling really calm and feeling really composed and feeling confident that Liverpool can go and get a win. And that really is a credit to the manager. It's a credit to this team for the way they've started the season. They just feel like they are, you know, really slowly building towards something brilliant. And the idea that they're slowly building towards something brilliant and on the top of both of the leagues is just massively impressive. And I don't think, like, you know, don't listen to anybody's narratives basically about Liverpool haven't played anybody so far, whatever. They were calling this the group of death, and Liverpool are all but home and hosed already.
Absolutely. Ancelotti's press conference was interesting. He says he's still a blue, which is great news, because that means he'll get beat, because they do know the meaning of losing, Ali. So, you know, if he's going to be a full-on Evertonian tonight, he needs to know that involves getting beat at Anfield, and he's just going to have to cop for it. It was his decision. Yeah. Although they are born, not manufactured.
Yeah,
so maybe it wasn't.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, and Ancelotti is also. I think there is an element of the Slot is kind of cut from the same cloth as Ancelotti. He's very good at taking things away from the players, and Madrid have come over here with quite an injury list if we're looking at it. And as we mentioned at the start, quite an interesting start to the season. It's been a little bit clunky over there as well for them. Bellingham obviously has been spoken about. Obviously he took a little while to get going, probably a post-Euros hangover. But I think Ancelotti is well aware that the team are a little bit down on where they should be at this point, and Ancelotti is very good at taking that and deflecting it away from the players. Now, it's still Real Madrid, and they're going to pose an enormous threat. They still have an embarrassment of riches, but I would say Ancelotti is well aware that this is not a knockout game. And I know that sounds incredibly obvious, but in years gone by, we've played Real Madrid on the biggest stages, on the most important games, whereas for him today, I think it will be about attempting to get the result, but it's not the end of the world. There's still games to come. So I think it's going to be a really exciting afternoon.
Really exciting afternoon / evening, whatever time it is getting out. Ali's showed his card early there. Ali's out after this. It is sort of a big game for him, but listen, it is absolutely huge. We're going to do a little bit more, on the game in a second. Going to sort of pick a team and have a little bit of a chat about players maybe to look out for Real Madrid, because they haven't got loads of secrets, but a few sorts of injuries. So I'm going to ask the guys what they sort of make of that. But first of all, do want to give a huge shout out to NordVPN, who are partnering with us on this one of Talking Reds. It is a fantastic service that I've been using quite a lot at the moment for my travelling. So one of the main benefits when you're in the UK is being able to access streaming services that are available abroad. There may be sporting events that are on, even ones that are in your country but aren't necessarily on the telly but are on in other countries. You can change your virtual location with a click of a button, and then you're able to access other streaming services, other platforms that maybe you won't be able to in your country, that open up some of these sporting events or other things. There might be TV shows that aren't necessarily on at the moment. Josh has just been back from basketball heaven. You might want to stay there. Something like a NordVPN will allow him to do that as well. But also, while I was away, I was able to use my sports packages, so able to enjoy Champions League coverage. For example, I watched the Liverpool-Leverkusen game in Universal Studios in a bar with a nice pint because it was on Amazon, and I was able to use my NordVPN to access my existing Amazon accounts and watch that, and that was fantastic. So yeah, loads of reasons to enjoy it. If you're not sure, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee as well, so you can try it, and if it's not for you to that confidence, they'll offer you that. So do go to nordvpn.com/TAW. That's nordvpn.com/TAW to get that fantastic deal. Madrid then, Josh, there is a few injuries. We know Bellingham's going to be playing. He puts him up. He's a funny fella, Bellingham. I want to like him, but he tests me sometimes. I think he's a bit of a sort of a funny fella. I mean,
he treads that James Madison line, I think, for
me.
Where it's like,
It's
like
it's
uber
a
honest, not very media trained, but sometimes comes across a bit like fuck off, lad.
Yeah. Like, I like James Madison. I like the idea of being like the main fella at Sunday dinner and get on board with that. But I've been working on that approach since. I was like, I never thought about that, James, but he's right. I do need to get on top of people at the carvery. But other little thing, he's talking about kind of like, having a tough summer and stuff like that. And listen, the stuff about his nan's ridiculous. Don't go to anyone's nan's unless you're invited. In which case, do go, because it'll be great. You get well looked after, loads of cake. But
especially if you want to be the main man at Sunday dinner.
Yeah. Go your nan's, best place to sort of do it. But all that stuff was kind of like a bit of a reminder how shit it can be to play for England. But also, like, he's talking about being made a scapegoat and stuff like that. You think, I don't know. I don't really sort of remember it being like that, but I think for him, that's sort of what fuels him a little bit, isn't it? He's obviously a really bad loser, and you could see that sort of in the summer. But then a lot of the people who are the greatest winners in any sport sort of often are, and you can't argue with what he's achieved at a young age. And in a funny way, I'm sort of looking forward to watching him play tonight.
Yeah, it's a funny one, because like the personality thing is interesting for me, really. Like you almost get to the point where you can say Liverpool dodged a bullet with him, and obviously we've got Ryan Gravenberch now, who's the greatest midfielder that ever lived, so we don't need to worry too much about Jude Bellingham. But like going into the summer, I can sort of understand what he means about being the scapegoat, because he was they literally had an advert with, I think it was him with Adidas, wasn't it, saying that he's basically England's great hope and things like that. And then when it obviously doesn't go to plan as much, I would argue that it did go to plan for England until it didn't, sort of lose into Spain, and Spain going on to win it. Like, that is fine for sort of expectation that, but like you mentioned, it's no Barrow Laughs playing for England. It's definitely no Barrow Laughs being England's main man, and I think he's starting to realise that now. But I think he's sort of picked this life for himself, because he's ultimately playing for, he's born in England, so he can't help that side of things necessarily, but he's also playing for a team in Real Madrid who I think you could probably make the argument that in club football they're as close as it gets to England, because it just never looks like a Barrow Laughs playing for them. Like, all their fans completely expect them to win basically every trophy. If they don't win every trophy, then the fans are right on your back, and managers can get sacked left, right and centre and all these sorts of things. So he has ultimately picked this life of being somebody who is so in the limelight, and we mentioned about like the lack of sort of him not, at least not using his media training, not leaning on that, showing more of his personality. We do want to see footballers doing that, but then there's a fine line as well where people are going to naturally pry a little bit more on things. So I'm dead excited to see him turn up at Anfield, because I think he's a player who is in sort of the best years of his career, and I don't mean that to say that like he's at his peak by any stretch of imagination, because he's still so young. But when you get drawn in the Champions League, you want to see the biggest teams and the best players come into Anfield, and I'm excited to see him, excited to see the sort of reception that he gets from Anfield tonight, and see hopefully Ryan Gravenberch legging him everywhere.
Yeah, when I say I'm looking forward to watching him play, what I mean is I'm looking forward to watching him get legged everywhere by Ryan Gravenberch, and if that happens to him, he needs to just cop for it, because it happens to every other midfielder that he sort of come up against. But the players will feel like that as well. There's a couple of injuries. Vinicius Junior just doesn't fancy Conor Bradley, which is fair enough. But Mbappe, we've seen at Anfield before, and he's played against us for PSG, and so we've sort of seen him in the flesh. But for the players, I think they'll enjoy testing themselves against Real Madrid, especially in a game which isn't as high stakes as when we normally play them. I mean, nothing gets higher stakes to the final, of course, but I think for them, they'll be looking forward tonight. They'll all want to be played. There'll be no talk of resting for City, for them, because footballers, especially at the very high level, want to test themselves against the best, and that's what they are tonight, regardless of injuries. Yeah,
and I think the players are aware that we've not played anyone difficult yet, apparently, but I think the players are fully well aware that you can't not be spoken about in this limelight without backing it up, and you have to be able to back it up and grind out a result away to Southampton, and you have to be able to do it against the best. I also think with players like Vinicius not being there, that doesn't diminish Real Madrid's quality. It's an enormous loss, but they've still got a team full of superstars, and I think for us, especially tonight, it'll be about really putting a statement out. I talk about it a lot, about us being professional, maintaining what we're about throughout the games that we're up against, the teams that we're up against, whether that's Southampton, whether that's Real Madrid, whether that's Man City. The manager always talks about rhythm. What better way to get rhythm than to put on a performance tonight? And I think it would be interesting as well how the players react to, it's a very different style. Going in the Champions League, you're up against such an array of styles. So having to maybe sit back for 10 minutes, which we haven't done for quite a while, will be interesting to see how we soak up pressure. And again, I think it's a good test for the manager to go, we have all these weapons in our armoury. Can we turn it on against Real Madrid? Can we turn it on against Southampton? Could we turn it on against City at the weekend? So I think the players and the manager are going to be as excited as we are. Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully you're as excited as we are as well. Hopefully you're looking forward to the game. Don't forget, everything's going out for free this week. If you didn't know or you are aware already, that does include the post-match content tonight from Anfield. So straight after the game, audio and video from the Glenbook Hotel, just a stone's throw from the Cop. We'll be doing audio and video from there as well. So if you are enjoying this and you just normally watching Talking Reds, well, you're in for the treat tonight. You'll get the full post-match pint, not just the first five as normally goes on. And also check out the podcast. If you, as I say, if you're just someone who enjoys us on YouTube, then it's a great opportunity throughout the week to check out everything that we're doing from podcast. Everything is available for free wherever you normally get your podcasts, or if you download the Anfield Wrap app, you can get access to everything from there as well. So audio and video tonight, and obviously from Thursday and Friday, everything looking ahead to a massive game against Manchester City at the weekend as well. So great time to get stuck in, great time to have a bit of sample about what we're up to on a day-to-day basis, and hopefully you'll get some very jubilant post-match content tonight after Liverpool have beat Real Madrid. Just finally, just in terms of the Liverpool team,
I did a pre-match warm-up with Phil, which is another thing available to watch for free, and he threw a Joe Gomez shout in, which I wasn't quite expecting, but he taught me into it, you know, the idea of someone with a good physical stature and good pace to sort of go up against Mbappe, and I haven't thought about it. Is there anyone who maybe you'd start from left field, or not necessarily even left field, but someone who you think, you would definitely start, who's maybe not one of the obvious?
I don't know. Like, I think you can make a case for the Gomez thing on the basis that Phil has tried to there. I think otherwise, like, it comes back to the rhythm thing that Ali was talking about before. Like, we're into this period of the season now where, like, rotation is naturally going to happen, and they're going to be games that, you know, aren't against Real Madrid and aren't against Manchester City at the weekend where you sort of look to make more changes, and that's where I think the manager will be a bit clever. And I think I've liked what he's done so far in terms of, like, the balance he's struck between being proactive and reactive in terms of making changes. So he's using his sub bench a lot, but he's also been making sort of incremental changes to starting lineups here and there. So that's where I could see like a one change for somebody like a Joe Gomez. He's been rotating the left backs a lot this season, but then Simicast gets the injury in training, so I wonder whether he'll sort of look to do that on the other side to almost switch from one pivot to another. But besides that, like, I can't see too many changes, and there's so many lads who you feel like have been in sort of rich veins of form this season as well. There's going to be more and more of them knocking the door. We've obviously seen Trent being back in training yesterday. Harvey Elliott's been back in training and people like that. So they're all going to be, you know, asking questions of the manager at some point too. But, you know, it's just good headaches to have at this stage of the season, isn't it?
Szoboszlai or Jones, who are you picking? Or both if you want. We have to drop someone else.
Yeah, I would go Szoboszlai. I mean, I was at the match on Sunday, and especially in the second half when we went 2-1 down. Obviously, a lot of the plaudits went to Mo, which, of course, and Gravenberch, but Szoboszlai really did turn it on in terms of his pressing, and he was really integral to how we got back into that game by not letting Southampton out, and I think that'll be key again today. Madrid will want to move the ball quickly, but if we can have someone like Szoboszlai pressing them, especially if they're playing around their sort of 18-yard box, I think that's going to be integral to how we do tonight. I do think there might be a question mark over a Jones McAllister. McAllister was really interesting when he came on with Diaz at the weekend. He changed the tide of the game, just sort of sped things up a little bit more and just sort of got things ticking. But again, I think it will be a legs argument as well. You're balancing on what team Madrid are going to play, if they're going to have a lot of runners in midfield, like Bellingham, for example. So I agree with Josh. I think there could be maybe one change, maybe a Joe Gomez here or a McAllister there, but I can't see it being enormous changes from the settled team we've seen over the last few weeks. Obviously Diaz coming back in for Gakpo, but I think it'll be a relatively settled team mirroring what we've seen so far this season.
Okay, just before we close up, any interesting comments that have come through, Josh, from people?
Just a few people saying hi, really. Scott McCauley says a huge couple of games coming up. City being in such bad form has actually made me now nervous about Sunday, saying that they look shot as soon as they concede, I should say. David Chalmers said he's enjoying the 3 weeks so far, as John sort of mentioned before. Hopefully we smash Madrid tonight. I think we're all feeling confident about that. And yeah, just a few more people sort of checking in, saying about how big they feel the game is. Couple of predictions coming in. 2-0 says Clivo 92, Diaz and Salah, so he's clearly agreeing with Ali's prediction of Diaz being back in the team there. And then yeah, a few people sort of speculating on Gomez and Trent maybe coming back a little bit early. I think it'll be a bit of a rush for Trent for this one, won't it? But hopefully fit for Sunday.
Yeah, my team get a few minutes then available for Sunday. We shall see. But I'm sure whether it's Conor Bradley or whether it's Joe Gomez in his place, whoever it is, will do fantastically well. Listen, we'll leave it there. It is a big day. We want to get this up for all the people who haven't enjoyed it live as soon as possible. I would say as well, if you're around today and you fancy a couple of drinks or a couple of soft drinks, some food, whatever it is, we're going to be in Gravity Max from 4 o'clock today. So we'll be upstairs at the large bar area, having a few drinks, maybe watching the earlier kickoff there as well before heading up to the ground. So if you're around in Liverpool, we'd love to see a few at Gravity Max, like I say, from 4 till about 7. And then if you're not going to the game, you can watch it there on the big screen or make your way like us up to Anfield. So maybe see some of you later. But if not, enjoy the post-match content out for free. And thanks so much to Josh and Ali for joining me for Ash the Filming. Up the Neds. Come on.
Bring your digital life to a whole new level with NordVPN. Choose the fastest VPN on the planet and explore the internet without interruption. Bring your digital life to a whole new level with NordVPN. Choose the fastest VPN.
It is the free week on the Anfield Wrap. All the audio and all the video shows are available for free, and by now you should be getting a little bit of a flavour of them as we look back on the Southampton game and begin to look ahead to the Real Madrid game. Everything that you need in all those directions, game after game after game through the season with the Anfield Wrap, and what an exciting season in store. Download the app, check it all out, enjoy it, or enjoy it on the platform of your choice. It's the Anfield Wrap's free week.